Hello everyone who is watching, and now I will be our I will be the host, and Sajjad will be the co-host with me, who will be representing the audience. And I am also a UX designer, as you may know. So this webinar is regarding all about graphic design, like from where to start, what question, like any question in your mind regarding graphic design, and everything which occurs in your mind regarding graphic design will be cleared in this session. Uh, okay, so let's start by first going through a presentation that I and Sajjad made. Uh, that is regarding a graphic design, a basic knowledge about graphic design. So, huh. So basically, the first question that arises in the mind of every person who is like going to into design or either in design. The first question is, what is design? So, okay. Uh, Hello, Sajjad. Hello,
Yes.
Sajjad.
Hello.
There's noise from your side. Like, can you like reduce that?
Sorry, I can't hear you. What?
There is noise from your side. Like, can you reduce that?
Okay, wait. Continue.
Okay. So, continue going to the presentation. Like, what is design? So, design, according to me, design is everything. Like every single thing we see in day-to-day life is basically designed, either designed well or designed badly. Like everything is like I follow a quote like everything is designed, but some things are designed well. So either a product you see in the day-to-day life, like your phone, your laptop, everything has a design related to it. It has a design specifications. Either a poster, a banner, magazine, everything has a design, and that is a design. Design is not only the digital media. Design is also the day-to-day, day-to-day objects like your teapots, even a water bottle is designed to help you in a certain way. Like the design is basically inspired from certain things which are in the past, like historical buildings or sculptures, the ancient culture, etc. So that is basically design. If someone is saying that design is uh, totally digital, like how type work, how colors work, that is design, but it also represent a total design of everyday things. So that is a design according to me. Then going on to basically the types of design. There are various types of designs in the industry. Like design, or basically you can say that a design career. So there is graphic design. Graphic design is basically designing illustrations, designing illustrations, then designing posters, banners, or designing basic stuff which requires some art to it. That is basically a graphic design. Then comes the UX or UI design. UX and UI design is somewhat confused in the mind of, like, in everybody's mind, like what is a UI design and what is a UX design. So I'm saying that UI design is basically interface, and UX design has UI design in it. UX design is basically user experience design. User experience design is deciding what the user will do with the platform. Basically, UI UX design deals with the products that we digitally use or we use in our daily life to fulfill our needs. That is a user experience design. It is related to a user experience, how the user feels when he interacts with the product, or when he interacts with a particular tool. So designing the proper experience of that product is user experience design, and user experience design itself involves UI design, that is user interface design. Mostly belongs to user interface design mostly belongs to uh, the products on the front, like digital media in the sense the websites, the mobile apps, their interfaces, and even interfaces of if, if there is a deck of cards, then the faces of those cards will be UI design interfaces. UX will be how those cards, how the structure of that card will be UX, like in combination with user interface of this. So basically, UX design has UI design in it, and that in total becomes a product design. Product design is starting from gathering the requirements till delivering the experience to a user. That is a product design, the whole scenario. It involves information architecture design. Information architecture design is basically how you represent information on a platform, so that it is usable by other user which you are going to deliver. That is basically a product design. A product design involves many things at points, like you assessing the data, have some creative sense, then applying the basic principles of design, which I'm going to teach you in the further lecture. Design principles like colors, typography, and etc. etc. So that is basically a product design. A product is successful because of a successful product design. Then comes interior design, the next one. Interior design is designing the home interiors and the buildings, etc., the architecture work. That is interior design. Web design is a part of UX design. Web design is successful because of a successful UX, user experience design. Like web design also involves some kind of development. Like web design has interface, and web design also involves involves modifying the CSS and the HTML part of that. That is development work. So designing animations also in web design, designing animation which will like uh, for example, if you visit a website, if there is some kind of animation which you stick onto it at the first glance and want to explore the site more, that is basically a successful web design. Then fashion design is of course there. Fashion design is another industry. Basically, fashion design is totally another industry which also involves the basic principles of design, to design the fashion stuff like the clothes, the modern trends and fashions, etc. Motion design is another industry which involves creating uh, okay, video films with animations, like creating infographics for in an animation, etc. And motion design is crucial part in a UX design, because every interface requires a animation to make it successful, like small transitions, like if you tap a button and you go to the next page, that is also a transition, fade in or fade out transition, that is a motion design. So motion design is very crucial in UX design, and other parts also, like motion design is used in making advertisements, making infographics and a video, enhance the experience of that video for a user, etc. Architecture design is designing the buildings and how they will stand the architecture. Like buildings in current scenarios are like block buildings with rooms in it. But architecture design also involves mm, going beyond those shackles and improving that architecture so that it is it is uh, it is beautiful, and it requires less space, and can and more people can accommodate in it. That is also architecture design. So architecture design is mostly inspired from the ancient culture or the ancient buildings, and those principles are applied to it. In all these design types, there is one common thing. They all follow the similar kind of graphic design principles and the similar base principles which are related to typography, color theory, the negative space balancing, etc. Moving on to the next slide. Importance of design. Why is design important? So the thing is, design is first and foremost important for a user before before going into the technicalities of the product or even anything. If the interface or the feel of a product is not good to the user, is not appealing to the user, he will not use it. Like we design everything so that we can fulfill someone needs basically or solve someone problem. So basically design, as said by this presentation, design is one of the most important factor when building a brand. For example, like we have set up an example of Apple has a consistency in design, a consistency in design in the sense that they even name their products in the same kind of manner, like iMac, iPad, iPhone. So there is a I to it, which is also a design factor, like what they are going to name it. Then sorry, then there is their Apple symbol, which is a which is a iconic brand logo, and it is formed according to a perfect geometry, and also following the rules of logo design and all. So importance of a design is very crucial in the product design industry. First of all, product design industry, as in there is a balance between development and design. Development is as important as a design. Like if the design is not good as if the design is not good in the development, and the back end of it, or basically the functional part of it is very good, then most probably the user is going to not use it if it is not appealing to it. So design is also important in the same way as the functional part. Sajjad, hello.
Yes, I want to talk a little more about
Yes,
this
welcome.
Apple
Go on.
logo. As you guys must know that Apple has a beautiful logo.
Hmm.
You know, it's Apple because its name is Apple. Yeah, that's one thing. But in design, we don't really go for everything literally. There is a team behind this, a community who developed and designed this logo. Most of you guys don't know that this bite out of an apple, why do they choose this? It's not for the aesthetics of it. There's a pure reason behind it. It's actually a pun. The byte is not BITE, it stands for BYTE, as in for computer byte. So this logo has a pure design thinking, and a community, a team worked on this. So design and brand, this is why design is important to build a brand. Thank you. Over to you, Solve.
Okay, so as Sajjad said, Apple is a very popular brand having a iconic logo. Uh, Actually, logos are built from grids actually. So these are following certain principles, and even a brand can have any logo, even a circle and like rectangle underneath it. But if you make sense out of that logo, if that logo represents the brand, then that logo becomes a design uh, symbol for that logo, or basically the symbol for that brand. That logo becomes a symbol. So basically a logo represents a brand, and if the logo is not designed well, then the brand will might lose its reputation, or and market share in the industry, due to, like, because users will not be more attracted towards the brand. So that is basically importance of design. Now next, moving on to design as a career. That's an important aspect maybe for all of you guys in the audience. Why to choose design as a career? So there's another PPT for this. I guess that okay for you to switch to another PPT. Okay, so design as a career. Design as a career. There is a problem in choosing design as a career. There are the beginners and there are the professionals. The beginners do not know where to go and how to go about the design to become a professional, and that problem is very crucial, which makes them to take a step backward and not choose design as a career, because they don't know how well it perform, or how or what will be the scope of that. And regarding scope, I want to say that scope, don't think about like scope, like anything as a scope or not. Scope is always not available, it is created. Scope is created by your work. We are, like, if you try to do things as a beginner which will affect other people's lives, then you have created a scope in that profession. So just start doing the design work and you will get to professional. But to get to a professional, there is a certain path to be followed. So design as a career has also some problems. Like in our 12th class or so, we are always like provided with certain choices, like you have to do engineering or doctor or become a doctor or lawyer or any profession like that. But most of the parents do not uh, do not provide you with the choice of art or design as a career, because they think like this has no scope in for the future. But there is no such thing. Everything has a scope, as I told you earlier. So according to university stat, let's go by the university stat. Then I will explain why design should be chosen as a career. Like there are 1.5 million graduating students from 10 approximately 10,000 engineering colleges every year, and there are only 24 design colleges from which 40,000 students are graduating. So basically, there is an imbalance between the development figure and the design figure, and this development and design figure imbalance will not lead to a successful product ever, or even a successful uh, icon ever, as a like icon of a brand or anything. So there is a need and we have to fulfill it. That's why choosing design as a career and continuously working in it will gain you something at the end. And believe me, choose design. It is fun, and it will like every day inspires you to do something new. And even the design community is very helpful. I can say that from my experience. uh Solution for uh, how to motivate yourself to choose design as a career. Try to connect with the communities in the social media regarding design. They have certain they have certain path to a particular kind of design, like the type of design which are you are going to do. Like either you are interested in interior design or UX design or like fashion design, anything. There is always a certain community guiding the path to that design, and going by that path will always lead you somewhere, but with some your efforts also. Some, or actually most of the efforts you have to make it yourself. So that is basically a solution. Connect with the communities and all. I will also provide some communities and communities links and books that will help you motivate yourself towards design. So as I said, this is basically a product. This is a product scenario. Basically, a successful product is in the middle of design and development. If there is a balance between both, if there is not a balance between both, then you are lacking somewhere, and your product will never be successful. Uh, Also, worth of a designer and a developer. According to the current scenario, you can see that there are lots of developer manufacturing every day. Yes, every day. And like there is a scarcity of designers, and I can tell you from my past experience working 1 year, working uh, 2.5 year in various kinds of design like print media and UX and also motion design. The value of a designer is going up, but the value of a developer, a value of a developer is also going up, but the designers value, the market is realizing the designers value and are paying higher if your work stands out. And stands out, I mean, your work don't need to be always original. Your work needs to be inspired, and your work there's a quote that if something is left out, then you can use it for your inspiration and your work. There is no like harm in taking that work if it is if it is a waste for someone else, making maybe that can be useful for you. uh yeah, so basically, design as a career, I explained you that. So you can choose design as a career, and it has lots of scope in it. Design as a career basically has many professions coming out from the types of design. For example, UX design as a motivation can lead you to a UX designer, a product designer, a UI designer, information architect, UX researcher, or choosing a fashion design will get you to the fashion designer. Choosing graphic design as a career will get you to various things like print designer, famous logo designer, and regarding the logo designers are like really paid well. For example, the Nike logo is a very iconic logo, which is like made according to the grid and the design principles and all. It was worth lot of money when made, like even millions of dollars. So you can, if you are sticking to your principles and you're successful designer, you can get a higher paid gig easily. And like you have to spend time on that, but that's a high paid job. For and then interior designer, there is a scope of interior designer. I will explain you regarding like I am in the product design field. I will explain you regarding product design. Product design has various scenarios, and like it is a like far more hierarchical structure, and I will explain you in the next upcoming webinars regarding only product design. And other designs, you can ask me questions about that, but I will basically get into product design more. Okay, so then examples. Let's get into examples. There are two basic examples of bad design. Like good designs are everywhere. Good design is basically Apple making Apple Pencil is a good design example because it is light. It feels like pencil, but it has a flaw. It does not have a rubber because pencil has to have a rubber. And like Microsoft has a pen which has a eraser, so that is a design flaw. But still, it is designed to be used perfectly. There are two major examples in the design industry or as a designer which are very famous, like Norman Gates example. Sorry, allow me. Okay, so Norman gates are basically must have seen the glass gates in malls and other offices, etc., which have a push and pull sticker on that. So push and pull sticker, why are there a push and pull sticker? Well, basically a gate is designed to be open and closed, and if you are sticking a push or pull sticker to it to make the user understand where to pull and where to push. That is a design flaw. Basically, if you are making a gate, then it should be understandable with the gate itself, like where to pull and where to push. You do not have to place stickers on that. So that is the Norman Gates flaw, which is still persisting, and you have to like you have to write pull and push on either sides to let the user know where to push and pull the gate. That is the major design flaw, which is quoted by Norman Gates in his book. In the book, design of everyday things, which I will link in the description or will give you later. The second example is Massachusetts teapot. Hello, Sajjad. Sajjad,
Yes.
can you explain this Massachusetts teapot?
Yeah, Massachusetts teapot is a teapot made by an artist. It's not an actual working teapot. It is the presentation of a bad design and how bad a design could be. Now, as you can see, if you have to pour it, how do you pour from a teapot? You grab the handle and you rotate it towards towards where the peak is, and to pour the water or to pour the tea. But in this, if you, for say, you are pouring hot water, the moment you start rotating the teapot, it will go down on your own hand. Now that is a major flaw, and it is designed so beautifully that for once, if you look at it and if you glance at it, you will miss it. But for God's sake, if you buy something like this, you will regret it your whole life. You will never
Yeah,
be able to use such a thing.
that will
This
be
is
a
what a bad
total
design is.
disaster. That will be
Bad
like total.
design, yeah, bad design is something which is not functional or relevant.
Yeah, that design
That is
is
the
that
base.
design may be appealing to the users, but that is not functional. Because if you ultimately will start using it, and it will not be functional in any sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So moving on. Uh, okay, sorry. Moving on, there are certain design concepts and design terminologies that the designers use in day-to-day life, or even their every project, like color theory, typography, and layout. So color theory is basically how the colors are used in a particular design to make it beautiful. Sajjad,
Yes.
can you mute your mic because like there is a lot of noise.
Okay.
Okay. So color theory is basically how a designer use their colors harmoniously to make the design appealing to the users or even the viewer who is viewing it. Like you can and there are things in color theory which certain things in color theory which makes a perfect design. Even the colors are even in the historic times when color theory was not documented or established, the color theory was still being used. And in the current times the color theory is documented, and color theory is basically how you choose a single color, how you choose two colors to represent a design, or three colors, or four colors. And their variations in the sense that they have a HSV value, like hue, saturation, and value. Then they how RGB works, what is the CMYK format. That is basically color theory, or basically how two colors harmoniously can be combined together to create a perfect layout. For example, I can give you the example of Google logo. Okay, Google logo. By the name of Google logo, I remember one thing. There is a Google logo, right? So Google logo has four colors in it. It is called a tetradeck combination. Tetradeck combination means four colors used at a time to represent something, and it is beautiful. It is a beautiful logo. It is a beautiful logo because the four colors that are used are so in harmony that it is appealing at every moment. And but a there is a slight flaw, you can say that, or there is a slight design tint to it. If you take a that is take a Google logo and place it in a circle, you will get this. like you have not observed this before, but that G is not a perfect circle. It has the end part of the G is something bent inwards to create an create something concept called optical illusion in design. If that G is was in a perfect circle, it will look absurd. I'm like pretty sure of that. That's why Google created, and it is also iconic logo. It's basically an optical illusion. So this is basically tetradic combination. Typography is
Yes.
how. Hello.
Yeah, wait a minute, Saurabh. Can you
Yes.
go back to the Google logo?
Yes. 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 I can. Here is it. Here it is.
Yes, some of you might be thinking that this is a design flaw, but it is still in debate that this might be intentional. What is happening here is the third principle of design, that is layout. There's a term in it which is visual balance. Now, if you remove that circle, Saul, can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Right now, as you can see, this is a perfect circle. If you look at it, this looks like in harmony. There's a circle, there's an inner circle, and there are some colors. So this is what visual balance is.
Yes. That's right.
That will be the third design concept. Yeah, you can
Mm,
continue. Thank you.
layout. And regarding the second concept, that is typography. Typography, I can tell you, you can design anything with type, like anything, pretty much anything. Typography is like a sword in the hands of a designer, through which he can do anything. Type can represent a person. Type can represent an emotion. Type can represent a feeling. For example, the Comic Sans font. The Comic Sans font is like so in fun, or basically have a feeling of fun, that it can be used to design some posters that have a feeling of fun. For example, a birthday party poster that can use Comic Sans, or just talk poster, that like a podcast or something poster that has a fun related to it, that can be used. Or for and there are certain elegant typographic or typefaces used to it, like Futura typos, which is so elegant that it can be used for designing logos. Like logos can consist of only font itself. So font can represent anything. Font is so powerful. Even I can show you that. Like this is a font. These are fonts. Like this is community set up in a 3D environment beautifully, and this represents a particular community. Like every letter represents a particular building or their particular spaces through in which they are working, and this is a perfect typographic design. Sajjad, can you comment on that also? Like any further comments?
Yes, typography is used for making posters since forever. If you just go on design sites like Pinterest or Behance and search typography, the first thing you will see is not tutorials of typography or concepts of typography. It will give you posters based on literal typography. There is nothing on the posters except the fonts and the feel of it. Now, as many of you read newspaper, right? There is a
Yep.
certain feel to that newspaper, and there is a certain feel to this uh, presentation we are presenting. Now, this is in this presentation we have used a font which is more modern. As you can see, you will feel, oh, we can in 2020. But if you pick up a newspaper, you will think, man, this is boring. What's up with that? That's how we can uh, influence our audience by using just the type.
Yep, type is, as I said, very powerful. Like you can see the type examples and graphic examples in a famous newspaper called the New Yorker. Every some days, the New Yorker is released, and the front cover of the New Yorker is icon to the designers. Like it is every time it is designed by a specific designer to have a to represent certain feeling or certain emotion with that. And like you can see that by googling it, the New Yorker. Like I will link some of the posters below. And Sajjad, can you expand on layout further?
Yes, layout is basically balancing the posters or the whatever you are designing. Now, sometimes and layout, these three are concepts of design, not concepts of graphic design or fashion design. So they are applied in every design. Sometimes when you go, let's take an example. You go in your dining room and then there's bedroom. Most of the people will feel that their bedroom is more cramped than their dining room. Why is that? They are okay. There's sofa, there's table, and then in bedroom there's a bed and an almirah. So why is it that we feel that bedroom is more cramped? That is where layout comes in. Layout is the balancing of the space provided to you. Sometimes it is called negative balancing. Like in this slide, as you can see, I've used just type and some of the design elements, rectangles. They are not crammed, but if I tell you the actual pixel size, it's more than 100 pixels. The font is bigger than 100 pixels. What is the reading pixel size? It's 14 to 16. Now you can imagine how big this font is, but
Yeah.
it's still looking small. Why is that? Because the negative space in this slide is perfectly balanced. I won't say perfectly, but it is visually balanced. You won't be overwhelmed by this slide.
Yeah, there is enough content with enough negative space to it, or basically blank space to it. So this is in harmony to the design principles. Then yeah, that's it for today. Any more questions you can leave in the chat. We will answer it. Any questions regarding this? Uh,
Yes, there's a question from Kritiraj R. Garud. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
okay,
Sorry if
okay, okay,
I'm not.
okay.
His question is typography design recommended for logo designing?
Yeah, for sure. I like just told that typography can be used for designing logos, even like simple typographic logos. For example, uh, the example is the city logo, the Citibank logo. The Citibank logo is a typographic logo example with a small design change to it. That is an umbrella over T. So that is basically a the logo type design. And obviously, like typographies, different type of typographies can be used for any kind of logo design as soon as uh, it is within the logo design principles.
As well as if you're not even applying any design element to the fonts or something, I can give you an example. You must have read Vogue design magazine, Vogue fashion magazine.
Yep, definitely.
Vogue is the most popular fashion magazine right now, and it has only it's only its spelling. There's no design element to it. It's only the font. Actually, that font Vogue made by themselves, and you can find it on Google or Adobe font sites by the name Vogue font. So it is just a font. It's only the font that is their logo.
Yeah, second example is like the famous brand Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton has a logo LV, just like V in L to it, uh, which is also a typographic logo basically. So yeah, definitely typographies can be used to design logos as well. So there, answer is your question is answered. What about
Yes, there's another question by Manas Das. what are the tools we should learn to do UI UX development?
Uh, Actually, you are talking about the tools, so I can tell you the tools. The tools that you use for UX development could be Figma, Sketch, Adobe XD, or if you are just starting, you can use Figma, but like as a beginner you can use Figma. Then you will have to move to the more professional stuff like Adobe XD or Sketch. And for the motion design and stuff in UX design, you may have to use Principle for Mac, that is a motion design software. Or if you want to take full control of the motion or the transitions in the UX, then you will have to use After Effects. But if you are using Adobe XD alone, you may have to use Adobe Illustrator with it for some kind of work, and there is always intercompatibility. So basically, you can make something in Illustrator and bring it in vector form in the XD. But like these are the tools that could be used for UI UX designing. But for like, don't focus much on the tools, rather focus on the principles and the data that will drive you to design better experiences. The tools you can learn in the present times, and there will be other tools coming in the future, so you can learn them anytime. Like it takes it takes merely 3 days or 4 days or so, and you can learn that. So yeah, that's answer. Anything?
Um, actually, there is this concept, there is this question in everybody's mind, the difference between design and art. Can you please explain on that?
Yep. Okay. So there is basically a fine line between design and art. Art is basically professed by mostly professed by artists. Artists, what they do is they are free from sh- uh, free from the boundaries. Or basically, suppose a designer is given a brief from a client or something to design something. So designer is basically focused on solving the problem of a user, but the artist has a more of a approach that is uh, like he does this its own work, just designing something to represent something. It's not always solving the problem or solving the problem. It basically he basically does according to their needs and what they want to represent. But the designers all mostly design to solve user problems, and also to earn money also. So that's basically a fine line between artist and designer. But there is always some part of art involved in the design also. Like you can design illustrations, small flat illustrations, or some kind of artistic stuff in the design part to make it look good. But the art generally follows the most of the principles, but the alignment or layout principle they follow, but in certain cases. So that's the difference between art and design.
I hope there are no more questions. So
So
we hope that this is helpful.
yep, we hope that you enjoyed the session or regarding graphic design, and we will talk about product design, or basically we will talk in detail about the topics which we discussed in this webinar in the later videos, and we will let you know which topic will be defining. Thank you for this beautiful session.
Yes, and if you guys want a certain video on a design element or design concept, please let us know and we'll make that video next time.
Yeah, and also I will link some books in description of the video, books and some tutorials that you can follow to know more about designs and all. And you can always connect me onto LinkedIn anytime.
Uh,
Uh, that's all.
okay, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Uh,
We'll see you next time.